Wait, did you see my story about how Shannon and I were over at the farmers market because we go walking over there? We were sitting there at the table. She gets a coffee and I get a donut. We're sitting
Yeah.
there, and the dude walks by, and I'm kind of half turned away from him, and he's like, "Morning, ladies." Thought I was a woman.
Well, you've got beautiful hair. That's what it is. Flowing locks of Dan Goodsell.
Yeah.
Honest mistake right there. Was he
So-
flirting? No.
Maybe a little.
Well, maybe a little. All right.
Hey, watching with Dan and Tony. Hey, watching with Dan and Tony. It's like watching, yeah.
Welcome to Hate Watching with Dan and Tony. I'm Dan.
And I'm Tony.
And on this show, we watch the movies that everyone's itching to hear us talk about. And
Sorry, I'm not laughing at your intro. Keep going. You're good.
This week, we did a consensus movie.
We did. Yeah.
Every once in a while, we have those consensus movies where we're just like, the ether's like, you gotta do Madam Web.
You gotta do it.
Morbius.
You gotta do it.
You gotta do these movies that
we got a couple coming this year, and I'm very excited about it. But
Ghostbusters 2,
Ghostbusters,
consensus movie.
New Venom's coming out sometime. Kraven the Hunter's coming. I mean, we've got great stuff coming down the pipe here. I'm excited.
Just when you think the show's petering out, you're like, oh, they're just gonna keep making movies.
Whoa. Dan, you thought the show was petering out. This is news to me, Dan.
Well, I thought we were going to run out of movies. We were going to be like, oh.
We'll never run out of movies.
Going to have to actually do like bad movies. And I'm like, I was talking to my buddy Todd, and I guess Paul Scheer does a show like this that they've been doing for like 13 years.
You first of all, you've never heard of How Did This Get Made?
No. I thought I came up with this concept.
Oh, Dan, you're funny. You're a good guy,
I am funny.
How Did This Get Made is very fun.
But they do bad movies, at times, I guess.
Yeah, they do. They do all the above, They do. Yeah, I mean, they've been doing it for a long time, but they did go down. They started doing like every 2 weeks now instead of every 1 week because
sure.
you gotta pace yourselves. But Jason Mantzoukas is just the funniest guy in the world.
That's what Todd was saying. He's beyond funny.
If he wasn't, I'll just say this right now, not to throw shade at anybody. If he wasn't on that show, I wouldn't listen to it.
Oh, wow!
Like he's that influential.
He's the show. Just like I'm the show on this. So,
just like it's the Good Cell show.
But point being, I like to think our sweet spot is Hollywood excess.
Yeah, I mean that's what we aim for, right?
That's
the North Star, as they say.
That's what I like to look at, is where a bunch of the dump truck of money has poured money into celluloid, and then we're here to unpack that. And the movie we're doing this week is that in spades. It's Rebel Moon 2, the second part of the Rebel Moon. Now, did the first one come out in like January?
Yeah, so there's only a couple months different. I didn't look up exactly when it came out, but I think it's like a 4-month difference. So that must be January because right now it's April. You did it. I figured it out all on my own. Thanks, Dan.
Now, did you rewatch Rebel Moon 1 before?
Of course I did. Okay, you didn't think I was going to rewatch Rebel Moon 1? Come on, man.
Because, of course, I did not. But in my memory, when I'm thinking about Rebel Moon 1, the things I didn't like about Rebel Moon 1 is it always felt like they were on a green screen. On a lot of times, it just felt like they were on a green screen.
Sure.
And then the second thing was Charlie Hunnam, spoilers, turned out to be the bad guy, or working for the bad guys, and he got killed. And then I realized in the first one, he was the most interesting thing.
Well, he's definitely one of them. Okay. I also really enjoy the bad guy. I love...
Oh, okay.
Why can't I think of his name? That's not a good start, guys. Not
Noble.
A good start.
His bad
Noble.
Guy name is Noble.
I thought he was great in the first one. He was very fun because he's doing just slightly campy, but still grounded. You know what I mean? Like he's got a really nice balance. But yeah, I mean, those are the only two characters in the movie, Dan.
It felt like it.
I mean, instead of making this better, we're still there. But now we're -1. So now we have one character in the movie that I would even consider a character.
Well, and the bad guy doesn't really have a lot of interaction with the good guys either.
Nope. All the fun stuff. So, I mean, here's part of the problem, right? They shot these back to back, basically, as
Sure.
like one big movie. So there wasn't a learning curve, right? The first one didn't come out, and then he was like, oh, okay, I see what people like and what they didn't like. Let me put
Sure.
that into Rebel Moon 2. It was just like, I'm doubling down on what I want to do as Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
And it turns out that all of his choices are the wrong choices.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this because I like Zack Snyder.
And you've watched all of his movies
I've
some
watched
of them
all of
multiple
his
times.
movies. I enjoy a lot of them. And we disagree. Army of the Dead is still one of my favorite movies of the last like 5 years. And then they made the prequel to that, and it was horrible. So it's really hard. It's really hard to know what you're gonna get. But here's what I'll say. It's interesting that you feel like they were on a green screen all the time because while there is some green screen, most of it is practical sets and then they just paint the background as opposed to being on a sound stage. Like, so all of the stuff that they're interacting with is real, right?
Let me rephrase that.
Oh, sure.
We both just got finished. Have you finished Fallout?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time.
We both have finished Fallout, and I really think that the movies, the two things I was sort of thinking about as I finished this was Fallout and then Die Hard, right?
That's a high bar. Okay, continue.
No, but these are two things that you know. I could talk about other things that you don't know about, but you know those things very well. We both know them.
Really, Dan? You think you know anything that I don't know?
No, I didn't say. I just said this is a level playing field that we could talk about.
Okay, I see. Yeah, bring it up.
In Fallout, we have character.
Yeah.
Every character has an arc. Every character, from top to bottom. At one point in Fallout, when her weird little brother, when it was his story, I didn't care about anybody else's story. I could care less about all those other stories.
Which is so
his was
weird.
The best story by far.
It's so weird to me. I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying it's weird that you feel that way. It's just so interesting to me because when it first started and the first time we jump back to the vault after she leaves, I was like, wait, what are we doing in the vault?
Yeah.
Why are we all of a sudden back to where we're following her journey? Turns out it's just super interesting down there. And he's great. Everyone's great. And the show's wonderful. I really loved that show.
And it was just like, it was probably twice as much movie as this movie, but you were just like, you have built every single one of those characters and made their lives matter and made you fear for their lives and made the stuff going on with them, made you care about it, made you want to see where these characters were going next.
Now here's my question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two? Because I have my opinions.
Between Fallout and this movie?
The character work. Why does, quote unquote, what did they do in Fallout that they don't do in Rebel Moon? And the answer is make them characters, right? That's like the big answer. Yeah. My problem is these flashbacks in Rebel Moon 2 that we'll talk about. I think he thinks that's character development.
Yeah.
Which is not. It's first, for many reasons, but the biggest one is all of the stuff that we see in the flashbacks doesn't matter where we are now. None of it comes into play. Like if somehow you put these backstories and it ties into how they win the fight, that's fine. That's cool with me, right? It's still not character development, but it's still something interesting.
Well, that's movie stuff. That's the movie stuff, which is separate. That's the Die Hard stuff, where they go through things.
I'm sorry.
And you build. That's the whole thing. Is a Die Hard movie. Is there a lot of character stuff in Die Hard? There's some stuff for sure, but it's really like the villain has his thing he's doing. And then the other guy's screwing up what the villain's doing, and then at the end they come together to finish the situation, right? In this one, just like everything about the plot, you're just like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. You're just like, he set it up so that it can't make sense because he has this whole I'm making the whole universe, and you're like, no, you make Star Wars, which is the kid has to get off the thing, they got to move the plans, and then we raise the stakes. You got to destroy the thing. This kid who shoots womp rats when he, a single line early in the movie lets us know this idiot has the skill to solve the problem.
Has one skill. Yep.
I've been doing that since I was 3 years old, and I've got the Force, and we can do this. We're like, oh, wow.
As opposed to us seeing flashbacks of him as a kid shooting them with a backstory like, when I was a child, I used to go out in the fields and shoot womp rat. Whatever the words you just said. I don't know Star Wars that well.
But that would even work. In this one,
I mean, it would work, but it's less interesting.
My father died, and this is a character that you're not sure if it's the character that we watched die in this movie or if it's a character that's a different character that died. I don't know. I still don't know if Tarek's dad was the guy we saw killed in this movie.
Wait, what's your question? You know what? I'm not going to know the answer. I don't want to. Let's not rehash that. Here's my point of it, though, right? Like, because the backstory of him shooting the rats in your thing doesn't really matter. We don't have to see it. We get one line and you're like, okay, I understand that about you. And then we see him do it later. Mm-hmm. Great. That's great. That's all I need. Movie. I don't need a 10-minute story about how we used to do it so we can use it later. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then, so what I was going to say in Fallout, how much backstory do you get of the brother? What do we know about his backstory? Very little.
It's almost zero.
Zero.
We barely know if he's older
but
or
he's a
younger
real
than her.
Fucking character because he goes through some stuff and we watch him deal with it. So we understand him because we're watching him deal with stuff. Mm-hmm. We don't deal with anything. A lot of stuff happens, Dan, and we don't deal with anything in this movie. It's weird.
We watch that character step through a door, and we have no idea what he's going to be confronted with on the other side of that door.
And you're like, oh, shit.
And it's the best part of the show. What he's confronted with, what it tells us, and it begins this collapse of domino. It begins this thing of dominoes rolling that ends up with a finale. And you're just like, oh, I get it now. They were shepherding us to this place. This movie, it's like, okay, I want to have this thing happen for 5-10 minutes here, and it's just going to happen. It's not going to, we're going to give every character their own flag, and then those flags are going to hang outside, and it's going to mean nothing.
Yeah. It's because honestly, and now we're just going to kind of jump around a little bit, I think. But like when she's giving them these tapestries and she's saying why, part of me is like, first of all, how do you know these things about them? You met them 2 days ago.
For 3 days. Yes,
3 days you met them. What is happening right now? And you're just telling me I haven't seen them do these things that they're talking about. I don't understand. You can't just tell me their character. That does not connect me to them whatsoever. I didn't care about anyone in this movie.
No.
We've watched Nemesis for a total of 3.5 hours, and when she died, I did not care.
Is she a robot? Is she a robot? Or she just have robot hands?
What, you didn't watch the movie? They tell you in a backstory, Dan. Yeah, no, she's a human. She cuts off her own arms and then gives herself arms for vengeance. I don't know. It was dumb. It's really stupid.
Does she ever even speak a word?
Yeah, she talks a little bit. Not a lot.
The thing about characters is, and Charlie Hunnam realized this in the first movie, say something.
I mean, also, they don't have personalities.
No.
They're all dark and brooding. Like there's no levels to anyone. I don't understand. They all are all the same character. They've done slightly different things in their career paths, but they're all the same character. You need to have like where's your Han Solo? Not that I want Han Solo in this movie, but Han Solo is a character. Chewie is a character. C-3PO, a character. Where are your characters?
And how do we learn about C-3PO as a character? He says stuff.
He reacts to things, even though he's a robot. Like, he's funny. He's great.
he can't do a lot of things. He can barely move his arms. He can barely walk. So what does that leave you with? He's got to say some things that
some clever,
that
witty things.
Inform the world, inform how he sees the world. He's a coward. C-3PO is a coward. Let's get out of here, R2. Wow,
that's wonderful.
He's a coward.
What kind of character is Tarek?
Guy with an axe.
What kind of character is General Titus?
A guy that gives not very rousing speeches and sort of has a small amount of tactical logistics.
Does he though? Because the final battle is mostly him being like, okay, now we're just going to run down this bridge at these guys. Like the first setup is great when they're jumping out of the things and rocket launching, but then the last part of the plan is just run at them.
Dude, if you talk about the pacing of action in this movie is just like it's
Zach,
insane. You have to set up a thing so that things happen compartmentalized, and then we cut between the things, and the action continues, and people reposition. It's a dance. A battle scene like this is a giant dance that you have to plot from beginning to end and have things happen where it has to be, you have to draw the map of what's happening, all the rising excitement, the fall, and then the comeback. I mean, it's a graph, and if you don't have that graph,
the fight itself is a story. Interesting.
It's almost like it's a story. And they have what's her name? Milius, the character that no one knows who it is.
Is that the face, the eyeline face paint? Or who's that? I
thought it was the girl that was with them, who I thought was one of the Blood Axes, but I don't know now if that was one of the Blood Axes. I don't know why only one of the Blood Axes went with them and why.
Well, she's not a Blood Axe, right? She was just one of the rebels that the Blood Axes were leading, and a bunch of them followed Ray Fisher, who is Mr. Blood Axe. But then they all died at the end of the first one in the ambush scene, except for her. She's the only one that survived.
Survivor of the Blood Axes. Okay. Literally, for the first half an hour of the battle, we don't see her. And then at some point, she just pops out of a roof. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why haven't we used this character? I don't understand. Why is that character? It's like she should be with Titus. And then Titus at some point goes, flank them and then shoot them with the thing, and then she has to do a thing. You're just like, oh my god, why is this happening?
Yeah, it's some of it feels like he's making it up as he goes in the battle. Like he has points that he needs to get to, but he didn't write out how to get to the different points, so it doesn't flow. And also, listen, I'm a Snyder defender. The slow-mo is gratuitous. But here's what I'll say. In an action scene that you then just slow down when nothing's really happening, like they're just kind of walking down a bridge and it's slow motion, that ruins the tension for me. There's no, if you want to slow-mo something cool that's happening, I'm all for it. That's fine. I mean, I don't love it, but I'll allow it. But if you're slow motioning random shit for no reason in your climactic battle scene, you're killing me. It's a slog.
It's a painting. He's making a painting.
I mean, it looks pretty good, I think. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but it looks all right.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start the movie.
Are we not done with this movie? Oh,
we have some nice titles. I'm like, okay, these are good. We got some music, which I thought the music was good. We have a recap.
The music in general, I really enjoyed. Just to touch on a little bit at the top, I thought the music does a better job with the tension and feelings in the movie than anything on screen.
That is true.
That's all.
We're heading back to the moon where the grain is, right? Cora was hiding out there.
Velt. We're going back to Velt.
We've got Cora. We've got Gunner, who's the guy from there, who they're in love.
Yeah, what?
Were they in love in the first movie?
Dude, I rewatched the first one. They mention it. Charlie Hunnam. So just to recap real quickly, Charlie Hunnam betrays them and captures them all in like the final scene, and then the bad guys come, and he tries to make Gunner kill Cora, which doesn't make sense with this movie, but hold on to that thought. And he's like, I know you're in love with her, kill her, something like that. And I was like, wait, what? He's in love with her? When did that happen? So that's when I first learned it. But then the rest of the movie happens, they don't deal with it at all. And then we go to this movie and they just tell me that they're in love. And I'm like, I don't think that's not love. I don't know what it is, but it's not love.
And it's their love is. I mean, okay. Let me introduce the characters real quick.
Okay,
then we'll get back. Then we'll do a
right.
couple minutes on their love. Korra and Gunnar.
All right.
Then we've got Titus, who's Digimon Hansu, who's the admiral. He's a great actor.
I love him. He's a great actor. Wasted I
in
love
this. Nemesis, who is the sword wielding woman who lost a kid or something, and now she has to protect kids. Who knows?
Yeah, they tried to tell you what happened in the first one too. She says, "I know her mother's pain, so you must be on the money."
We've got Tarek, who is Conan the Barbarian, Tarzan, who wields an axe, and then he's the snow elk. And then there's Milius, who's the one blood axe, who's here so that we have 6 people. Even though he's doing fake 7 samurai, so we really need 7 people. So I'm like, why don't we have 7 people?
Well, because the 7th one died, already, immediately.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you. Mr. Bloodaxe died within 3 minutes of being introduced. So
was Charlie Hunnam 7, or was Mr. Bloodaxe 7, or were the extra Bloodaxes 7 bonus?
7,
whatever.
Maybe 8. It's like a 7.5 down to 6.
So Korra and Gunnar are in love. And as soon as Korra falls in love with Gunnar, she becomes smaller. It's the weirdest thing. Like, this is a character that feels like they're trying to hide in love, which is really weird and not good for this character. And you're just like, she's supposed to be your primary character. She's supposed to be the strongest character, right?
Yeah, she's supposed to be, but we take away a lot of her agency in this movie.
Yes.
Up until the end, we kind of shift it to Titus for some reason, because
he's the big general. Yeah.
He is the big general, but she was also a big general. Wasn't she what was she in the war? She led something.
She's the bodyguard. She's the bodyguard of the princess.
She's the bodyguard, and she's feared amongst the galaxy. I don't know.
She's supposed to also be the greatest warrior, which Noble should not be a better warrior than her. He's generally a better warrior than her.
Well, he's pretty cool. So, and he also might be a robot. I have some real questions about him.
So boom, they put him in the tank. He fell, but he didn't die, and so they just put him in a tank, and he comes back.
They Humpty Dumpty the shit out of him.
Yeah, and then he's just like, I know where she is. We're going to go get her.
Hold on. So why I'm confused is when he wakes up in the tube, right? He's got a flap of the back of his head that's up, and there's a tube into his brain stem. What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's just,
sci-fi things?
Yeah, just sci-fi.
Okay, copy you.
He's not a robot. So he knows that they're returning to the grain planet. So he's all like, I'm going to go to the grain planet. Somehow they have days, I guess they have days and days on him because he was in the tank. So he's like, I'm going to go to the grain planet and I'm going to get her because she's the most valuable thing that there is, right? Because whoever brings her into this Irish king guy who's like so horrible.
Well, so what's interesting is, and this is just me talking out of my ass here, but Charlie Hunnam in the first movie is doing some sort of mixture of like Irish and maybe some like he's got an accent that you can't quite pin down, right? I feel like this leader guy is doing a similar accent. So I don't know if they talked about it and they're like, this is a planet and we're both from the same planet. I don't know, but it feels similar to me. So I was like, I buy it in this world. He's still awful. Let me just be clear. He's really bad.
He looks like he's wearing all this weird makeup. He
has to be.
He just looks really strange. You're just like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Not quite human. That's what you're looking at.
So he's like, let's go. We got one dreadnought. We're going to go there with a dreadnought, and we're going to get her, and then that's the thing that's going to be good. So boom, we cut back to Velt. Here we are riding the alien horses to the village because you're going to answer this one question for me. How'd they get there?
Horses.
They got from the first movie to this movie via horses.
Still like a Pegasus type of mixture, I bet.
Well, we did Pegasus.
No, I don't know, Dan. They don't show me that.
Wait a second. Hold on. So, but I mean,
Maybe
Someone dropped them off and left?
maybe they stole Hunnam's ship.
Okay, so shouldn't that ship be on the planet?
Maybe they called an Uber.
See, that's like, it's stuff like that.
Intergalactic Uber.
That you're just like, okay, well, they're going to have that ship because we do a whole thing about having Korra's
But
ship.
having one ship from 2 years ago that may or may not run, but then it's like, oh, never mind, it's fine. But yes, I agree.
It's so weird. And also, if they did get dropped off by somebody, where'd they get those horses? And if they did get dropped off, why didn't they just drop them off 1 foot from the village?
Because otherwise we wouldn't have the westernness of it where they come in on horses. They come back to town on horses like heroes.
Okay, so it turns out
I don't know.
that they were used to be soldiers on here, but then they killed them all. And then the one soldier like turned on them, so he's still getting radio transmissions. And so he's, he puts on his, when it goes boop, 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 he puts on his uniform and acts like, oh yeah, everyone's here. They're all over there.
Yeah.
And been faking them out for weeks or something.
For literally weeks. This is my least favorite thing in this entire movie. For 2 reasons.
This is your least favorite thing.
This is
in
because
this entire movie.
In a movie that is crazy and bonkers as this makes the least amount of sense to me. You're going to tell me that this guy, who I just watched in the first movie, is basically the lowest of the low. He's a private. Like, he is nothing. No one knows his name. Nobody has ever seen him before. If he shows up on your screen when you're calling home, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? I don't know this guy. He's like, oh yeah, everything's great. We're doing good.
That guy would say instantaneously, let me talk to the commander.
Right, like you sit down.
Taking a bath.
You sit down like a commander, a lieutenant, and like there was a hierarchy of people you left on this planet. You're telling me they never once were like, hey, can we talk to someone who knows what's going on, please? And then that's already baffling. But then once Noble is awake, he watches one video call with him and he's like, well, so they're all dead then, right? Obviously, this guy's faking it. They're all dead. We should go pick them up. Nobody else thought of that in weeks. That is batshit crazy.
And so this dude's like, how's the harvest coming? And he's like, yep, they're bringing it in. And good. The dude's like, we'll be there in 5 days. And so we're like, oh, they put the, click, start the clock, because now we know what the clock is.
And if only that clock mattered to anyone in the movie, Dan. If only. I mean, it's the right idea, putting a clock on. It's always good. It ups the ante, except for if you don't care about it.
Do not care. So they give them a feast. And then they walk in, there's all this food, and there's like, where's everybody? And they're like, everybody's too embarrassed because you've got to fight for us.
What? What does that mean, Dan? They're farmers. They're not warriors, they're farmers.
In Seven Samurai.
Okay, yeah, talk to me.
And this is why this movie doesn't work. In Seven Samurai, it's a bunch of bandits who go and steal from a bunch of villages, and they take their food, and then that's how the bandits survive. They just steal from the people who can't defend themselves.
Which is a good move.
And so then the bandits, the farmers take their meager amount of money and then hire Seven Samurai to come and protect them. And then while this is happening, they find that, the farmers want to hide the girls because they don't want the samurai having sex with their women. They find that the samurai have hidden armor and weapons from samurai that they've killed in the past.
Uh-oh.
And so things happen multiple times. And like at one point, the bad guys are laying, the farmers are inept at combat.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
In this thing, everyone in the village is like, "Oh yes, I'm a combat veteran who can kill everyone and knows how to do everything," And when they do the training thing in Seven Samurai, there's ups and downs. There's a lot of them that are shit, but there's some that are good.
Sure.
Like, just like, but in this one, this stupid movie, everybody's great. And then the bandits come,
except for the women and children, Dan. They're incapable of doing anything. Which is such a weird moment for me.
So it makes sense when they fight the bandits that if they fight the bandits, they might be free of the bandits.
Yeah, of course.
In this movie, you're like, the Imperium is against you. You can't fight.
Right, you're done. You're done. You're 50 people. You're done. Just give up. I don't know.
And the other final point that I want to make is this is like this tiny harvest of grain from 60 people, and they act at times like the Imperium will fall if they don't get this amount of grain.
They do try to give you your Dan Goodsell movie line. And it's because in the next scene that we're about to see, they're like, well, Noble's dead, so there's no reason for them to come back. And then they're coming back, and he's like, well, they must need the grain more than we thought.
And they say, but they also say that. They say that the grain is their main thing.
The bad guys also say, yeah, you're right. No, my point is moot. Shoot.
No. And if you're not paying attention, you could maybe slip that through. But
sure.
But just the amount of expense that it's taking them with hundreds of army men, it's like that grain is going to feed them for feed the people on the ship
all
for
the fuel
3
that
weeks.
They're burning. That's expensive shit, man. You can't just be moving dreadnoughts all over the galaxy on a whim.
No, you can't. It's so expensive. Okay, so they need the grain. So they call the villagers, and Titus gives them the talk. Wait,
Dad, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
We took a really long break before those two things happened. So at one moment, they're like, hey, where is everybody? And they're like, well, they're gone. They don't want to talk to you because they're embarrassed that you're fighting for them. And then 2 seconds later, Titus is like, hey, call your farmers. And he's like, oh, yeah, cool. Everyone round up. And then they're just outside. It's a really weird transition that doesn't make any sense.
We're embarrassed, but if you call us in, we're not going to be embarrassed.
If you really want us to come, we'll come over. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's so funny.
So he's like, okay, the grain, they want the grain, so we're going to pile up the grain by the houses so they don't just nuke us from orbit. Okay, that makes sense.
I like that move. If the grain really matters. Yeah.
We got 5 days, so we're going to harvest all the grain, which also
for 3 days.
In 3 days we're gonna harvest the grain, and you're kind of like, why don't you just not harvest the grain? Then they're gonna be like, oh, the grain's not harvested, and then they'll say you got to come back in a week.
Yep, that's smart. Yeah,
who knows? So we're gonna harvest it in 3 weeks, and then by us harvesting together, then we're gonna trust each other. And you're like, well, there's no mistrust in this situation.
Well, they don't trust the 6 samurai, right? Because that's what the guy's saying. He's like, cool. It's not, I guess you're right, because it's not that they don't trust them. It's just we're embarrassed.
They know went off and did a whole big thing for them. You'd be like, of course you're going to, why would you not trust them? What are they going to do?
That's a great question.
What is the lack of trust, and what does the lack of trust lead to? It's not like they've got a ship and they're like, load half your grain on the ship and we're going to hide that.
But we'll definitely bring it back. Don't worry. Yeah. No, I don't know. But I mean, the great news is the 3 days to harvest, 2 days to train a militia. Makes perfect sense.
Cora and Gunnar talk about fear and war. I feared losing you. They make out. They share a bed.
Yeah, there's a moment. I don't remember exactly what she says, but she's like, why did you do all this? And he was like, it's you. It was always you. It's like, I would have loved to have seen that. Just even a little bit. You know what in this movie, he does one thing that is technically like, oh, it's because he loves her, but it doesn't work because I don't think that he loves her. It's a whole thing. We'll talk about it when we get there. But some of his actions in the first movie should have conveyed more that he loved her. I don't need her to return the feelings until this movie, but he needs to be in love with her.
Somebody was doing like a scam deal with the grain. Who was that?
What do you mean a scam deal?
Weren't they doing like a thing of like selling some grain?
Yeah, he was.
Gunnar
so he sold grain to the Blood Axes. He sold their surplus to the Blood Axes. Which was, so when the bad guys came and were like, hey, do you have grain? The main guy, the boss of the village, was like, no, we don't have any surplus. The lands aren't that fertile. And then Gunnar's like, nah, they are. He's lying. We have tons of excess. We'll give it to you. And then they kill the leader of the village. It's super weird. So this Gunnar guy is an idiot all the time.
But he's also like a scoundrel. right?
He should be, yeah, but it's very muddled.
And that goes away in this movie.
Oh, yeah, we don't talk about it. Yeah. In fact, they barely talk about it in the first one. The leader of the village is like, don't think I don't know where you sold our surplus. I know where it goes. And that's about as far as we get talking about it.
Okay. So they're having sex, and then he's like, "So why is everybody after you?" Now we get the whole backstory of what's really happening.
The first of many backstories that we don't really need.
So the guy that's her fake dad, who like fake dadded her and put her with the princess, he says, "You got to kill the princess because the princess is going to make it so we don't do war anymore." Because this is our last dreadnought we're ever going to make.
Now, can you pause on that and remember that sentence? Because in the first movie, Cora talks about protecting the princess and how she believes that she's the only chance for peace in the galaxy and that she's like the biggest hope that we have. That's how Cora felt about it. Fast forward to movie 2, she's like, yeah, well, he told me I had to kill her. And I was like, okie doke. So super weird. Doesn't make any sense. But also, so I explain this war thing to me because who's profiting on the war? Because do they make their own warships and sell them to themselves? I don't understand.
I think it's just that they want to keep doing war because war's fun. That's what I think.
War is fun. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's like a war's good. Let's keep warring.
He's just like a pro-war guy.
Yeah, because peace. Well, he doesn't really explain why peace is bad, and
I know.
I mean, that's the thing. If you look at Star Wars, it's like they don't want to fight wars; they want to crush their enemies, but they want the bureaucracy.
They want to have control over it.
Yeah, which
makes sense. They're not just like I love to kill people. And what other planets we got? Let's go nuke them. I don't know.
But I could see Zack Snyder thinking that that's what the bad guys really want. We just want to cause killing because it's killing.
Yeah, look at General Zod, right?
Look at General Zod. So then he's like, the big guy's like, kill the princess. They kill the king and the queen, and then he's all like... And that's
Cary Elwes, right? The king?
Oh, yes. Cary Elwes was the king, yeah.
Why? Okay. Why do you hire Cary and not let him A, do anything, and then B, just kill him?
Because he makes some money. Get it. Because you get him throw some coin.
Are you thinking of just buddies and he's like, hey, you want to come in and make a couple mil?
Sure.
I would do that.
And so then they're like, you got to kill the princess. Why she has to kill the princess? No one knows.
Oh, I know.
Why?
Well, because he's setting her up.
Yeah.
The whole time. I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just telling you the reason, Dan.
I guess so. In a court of law, he could say she killed the princess.
She did it.
Then when
they'd be like, well, who killed the king? And they'd be like, wow, she killed the princess.
Well, they fired from space. So she points the gun at them. Is all like, and then the princess says, I forgive you. And then they shoots her, and princess turns into a ball of light.
That's the only good line of this entire movie. Don't forget it. The princess says, I forgive you. And then Cora says, don't. And then blows her away. That's a nice line.
Sure.
In a bubble.
If Cora acted in some way like this truly did affect her, sure.
Right. Yeah. That's why I say in a bubble, it's a nice moment.
I mean, Cora should swear off all weapons or something. Where it's like, I will not ever fight again. I will not ever fight again.
That's great. It gets even weirder for me. Continue, and I'll tell you where it gets weird. It should be very soon.
So then she runs away and just easily escapes.
Why does she run away? She says it in the voiceover. She says,
I wanted to find Gunner and then share his bed.
I want to breed. No, she says I figured the only I'm like gonna butcher this quote, I'm sure, but the only way to honor her, the princess, was to run. What does that mean? That doesn't make any sense to me. How is this honoring the princess that you just murdered?
So she could tell the
truth.
Tell the truth.
she's not telling the truth.
No, she never
hasn't
told the truth.
anybody.
No,
She hasn't told a single soul.
super
Dan.
secret.
She ran away to a moon and then just was like, "No, I'm a farmer now. I'm a farmer. I'm honoring the dead girl that I murdered by farming."
And hide. She wanted me to hide. She should have said, the princess should have said, "I forgive you. Now run."
Right? Like, I don't know. It was super weird. Doesn't make any sense.
How do you get away?
Well, they just let her get away. You know?
Just let her get away.
I don't know why.
Okay, so boom. Noble's still back on the ship, and they're all like, "We need to run tests." And then he shoots the doctor, and then we do this whole thing about he's got like a bonus scar because they didn't do a very good job, and he's like, "I'm keeping the scar because
she's the scar
Cora's
giver."
called the scar giver, and you're like,
now,
what?
Do we ever learn why she's called the scar giver already?
Because she gave him a scar.
No, but that just happened.
No,
I mean, previously, who did she scar? Because she didn't scar the princess; she murdered her. So I'm just
wait.
curious.
You watched the first movie.
I'm telling you, it doesn't tell you in the first one. I'm telling you right now, I have not yet learned the information, I think that this is supposed to be the end, right? I mean, I know he wants to do more movies, but this is supposed to be like a full story. 1 and 2 are supposed to be a full story, a duology, right?
Duology. No, is it supposed to make sense after this? I suppose he thought that. But, I mean, didn't he write this when he was like 9 years old?
He didn't write it then, but he's been thinking about it for a long time.
So he's all like, "I have this kick-ass girl, and she'll be called the Scar Giver, and she'll be the baddest badass in the galaxy." Why is she called that?
Well, that's great.
Because I came up with that when I was 9.
But as you grow, that's when you fill in the backstories. You know?
Well, no, you figure stuff out and you make it make some sense. But
yeah.
So we do the harvest. We do 45 minutes of them doing the harvest and holding grain and doing this. And Titus stops drinking, and now he's tricking everybody into thinking he's drinking, but he's really drinking water.
Now, did you get that until they told you that?
I totally got it.
Oh, you totally got it.
Because Cora sees him do it, and she's all
to
like,
dunk it in the water.
Yeah.
But what I don't see is him like boasting about drinking alcohol. You know what I mean?
Because it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't. That's what. It should, right?
He gave up the booze in the first movie.
It's ostensibly, yeah, because then they had to go fight, right? Yeah. So then he just gave it up again. I just don't get it. And if that is a character arc you want to like talk about, is him like finding himself again, I'm all for it.
But he found himself in the first movie. In this movie, he's going through the motions of being an alcoholic to appease people's fears. I thought you were an alcoholic, and that's why you were good at your job. Yeah, we all know that happens all the time.
I don't get it, man.
I just don't get it. You want your main leader person having everybody think that they're going to.
Well, that's how you trick them, right? That's how you trick everybody. And he's like, "I fooled you. I'm stone cold sober, and then I'll fight you."
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get it.
We do more harvest porn. Then the young girl brings them all.
I mean, it's excessive. It's excessive. It's weird.
The other thing is you get to the end of it, and they're all like, "Okay, that's the end of the 3 days."
We're all good. Yep.
I thought it was day one.
Day one.
I was like, "We got 2 more days of this."
No wonder this movie's 19 hours long. Oh boy.
So they give everybody their flags, and then they do eating and dancing, and then Titus sings a song. I do believe during Titus's song, I took off my headphones and I didn't listen, and I didn't pay any attention because I hated that part so much.
Wait, what? Hold on. You're going to have to explain to me why you hated it so much. What was the problem, Dan?
If you're gonna... Did he sing in a human language?
No, he did not.
Okay.
Okay.
If you're going to sing me a song, the song has to tell me something. It can't just be... Sure. Well,
it tells you that he went to school and was in the choir. So it's backstory.
It's not... It's not.
I don't know if it's an emotional song. I don't know if it's a song from his heritage that like means something.
I don't know those things.
We don't know anything about it.
Things.
All I know is that
know
everybody else gets silent and just watches this guy sing it, and I'm like, do they know what he's singing? Because they're not from his planet. right? So do they even know the language? What's happening right now? I didn't hate it, but I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But
See,
okie doke.
I hated it because I knew it didn't make any sense.
Sure.
And I'm just like,
Sure.
You are wasting time in your movie that just did a fucking 20 minutes on a harvest of having a guy sing a song.
Brace yourself. I'm gonna blow your mind right now. This and part 1 should not have been 2 movies, because there is not 2 movies worth of content in these 2 movies put together. There is at most 1 movie of content. You can remove the entire first hour of this movie and just tack on the final battle to the first movie, and you pretty much have a full, complete story.
Sure, they could just get back and the harvest is in, and they spend a couple of days getting ready, and that's it.
And be like, they're coming, we gotta train. We'll train a little bit, and then we're gonna fight. That's all you need. I don't need 25 minutes of cutting down grain, even though some of these guys look really nice while they're doing it. There are some beautiful cut-up men in this movie. Tarek looks great. Titus looks great. I mean, I don't need to see it.
There it is.
Now, here's why I was confused, Dan.
Yeah.
And this is probably why I didn't hate the song so much, because I was already so confused by this scene. Why are they celebrating? They're celebrating the end of the harvest?
Yeah, that's what you.
Even though they're going to die in 2 more days?
They don't care. No one cares that they're going to die.
That's what I'm saying. We put a 5-day timer on this thing. Halfway through, we're going to celebrate. We haven't even trained at all.
Nobody's run away.
Feels weird.
You have to have people run away.
Yes, some deserters for sure, because they're all gonna die, Dan. They should have all died. I don't know. It's so weird.
You got to wake up the next morning and go like, we lost 5. Oh, we lost blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. And they're like,
we're done.
But we don't know. We don't know if there's anybody else lives on this moon. They might be the only ones living on the whole moon.
That's a good point. That's
maybe there's no place to run away. I don't know. I don't know anything. Yep. We don't know anything because we
don't know.
Everyone exists as like an archetype thing.
Yeah.
They're monolithic. We're farmers and we care and we're perfect. No, you're not. You're a bunch of people.
And here's my big umbrella problem, right? With Zach in general. World building, I enjoy. He doesn't know how to flesh anything out. I think there are some wonderful ideas in this. There is a story in here that I enjoy, and I really believe if somebody else had A, written it, and B, directed it, it could have been a good movie. But he doesn't.
I don't think he's a terrible director.
I don't think he's a terrible director, but I don't think he should be directing what he wrote, because neither of those things have any human elements to them whatsoever. So then put together, there's absolutely I have no relationship to anyone in this movie. I have no relationship to the movie itself, because there's no human interactions. There's no real genuine interactions. Nobody goes through anything. There is a beautiful world here. I think it looks stunning. I know that you don't love all the green screen stuff, but
I thought this one looked better. I think this one looked a lot better than the first movie. Yeah.
You know why that is? Probably is because this is all practical sets on the farm.
Yeah,
like they literally. I watched the behind the scenes last night.
It felt like they were. It felt like they were in a place. They did a lot of stuff that tried to dissuade you from thinking that.
Sure.
But if they'd have, this place existed, it felt like it existed.
And it did.
And if they'd have figured out how everything happened in this space, it would have been great.
Which is interesting because they literally built it from the ground up. Yeah. So they should have had, that should have been part of the planning, right? Yep. But they really grew the grain, that's real grain that they're reaping. It's very interesting the way they did it. So I think that's why you feel that way, is because they really did create this part of the moon.
You know what movie this idiot should have watched? He should have watched Saving Private Ryan. If you ever want to see the end of a movie, go watch Saving Private Ryan. You got Barry Pepper up in the fucking Clark Watchtower. You know you're going to kill him. They knew I fucking was going to hate them because they're going to kill him. The only character I cared about being the sniper. Right? Put Milius up the tower. Milius is the sniper. Boom. Milius is, whenever something's going wrong, boom, Milius lays down a thing, saves our guys. And that's the whole thing about a movie like this, and as we're going to get into the battle is just endless. It's just like 1,000 shots in this direction, 1,000 shots in this direction. Now, at one point, they land like 4 or 5 things, 6 things, and they start marching out. And then, like 3 other times, more tanks appear and more guys
out of
appear
nowhere.
out
Yep.
of nowhere, marching in formation. You're like, I don't understand.
It's 3 times.
There's
There's 3 waves of it, and it doesn't really make sense to me.
Make them fighting 100 guys, and those guys spread out, and those guys do things, and we account for each of those 100 guys and 100 kills.
Yeah.
And if you account for each of those guys and 100 kills, you've made a movie. This is not. This is like, oh, now we got to make it feel like they're not going to win. Oh, all these tanks, and then Milius is going to swim and then come out and do a magic thing from the swim. You're like, no, you got to say we have 5 of these cluster bombs, and each one of those cluster bombs we see go off has to have an impact on the battle. And when they waste one of them, they're just like, fuck,
oh crap,
we're so
now we're
fucking
done.
Screwed.
Yeah.
You know, when you run out of bullets, you're like, fuck, we ran out of bullets. It means, every life in fucking Private Ryan means something.
Matters. Yeah.
Nothing in this thing. We don't care if our guys live or die. We don't care.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, Dan.
Sure.
The opposite side of that coin is I saw Saving Private Ryan in high school.
Okay.
And I vowed never to watch it again. It is too emotional. It's too raw. So Zack Snyder probably feels the same way. And he's like, I'm going to do the opposite of everything they did.
Sure.
Because I want people to watch this over and over again.
Well, your problem is they're not going to watch it over and over again. They're going to watch Die Hard over and over again because he wins.
I sure am. Also, but having said that, I don't know if you heard about this, but he's releasing the R-rated director's cuts at some point of these 2 movies, and I'm going to watch them then.
Is like Charlie Hunnam walking around with his dick swinging? Is that
Better.
why it's R-rated?
There better be some male genitalia. I don't know, because none of the problems I have extend from it being a PG-13 rating. You know what I'm saying?
They're going to show us when they cut off Noble's head. We're just going to see that.
Yeah, probably.
That was the one thing I was like, oh, we didn't see his head get cut off.
Sure. And then the sex scene. I bet we get a little sexy time.
I mean, she's hot.
Yeah, great. So is he. No? You don't like Gunner? I like
he's
Gunner.
fine. I as an actor and as a person, I'm like, oh, he's fine. But in this movie, if he was a if he was a scoundrel, I'd be like, oh, I love this guy.
Well, that's because I think he's supposed to be. They just forgot. They forgot about that part.
They just forgot. So then they're like, oh, they dig 6 or 7 foot high trenches everywhere.
Yeah.
In 2 days.
In 2
without
days.
Machinery.
And
have you ever dug anything in your life, Tony?
Yeah, we used to dig gas lines.
You used to dig gas lines? What does that mean?
Yeah. Because my dad owns a mobile home park.
PG&E would like come out there and be like, Tony, dig us.
Well,
your dad would. For your dad.
Yeah, I used to work with my dad sometimes. Not often because he gets mad at me.
He'd hand you a shovel and he'd say, dig us a 6-foot trench?
Yeah. 6 feet by about 1.5 feet. And then you got to go from the house out to the thing. Yeah.
How long would that take you?
That's summer. Those are my summers, right? So we're talking fucking weeks at a time. It's the worst. Anyhow, I've dug some stuff and I don't enjoy it. That's what I'll say.
Is a fucking nightmare because you're just like, nothing is happening.
I'm doing like nothing here, man.
Nothing has occurred.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I did it once. One time. That's enough.
Yeah, listen, I hear you. Never again. Huh?
That's why God invented backhoes.
That's why I don't have a yard. I don't even want to see grass anymore.
Okay, so Cora has her ship. It's been sitting out there for 2 years.
2 seasons.
They go out there. I assume
that's the same as a year, but they say seasons.
They do say seasons. They go out there, and with ropes and horses and men going like this,
they pull it out.
They pull it out. They don't pull it out anywhere. It's just sitting there. They pull it like halfway to the village, and then she just gets in it and fires it up. And it flies normally.
Doesn't make any sense.
They pull a couple of branches out of it. And you're like, why? What?
It's so good. It's so good. My favorite part is that they mention it twice in a row just in case you didn't understand what they're doing. She is talking about her ship. She's like, oh yeah, it's been there for 2 seasons. And then there's a voiceover of Titus being like, Cora's ship's out in the woods for 2 years. We're gonna go pull it out. And I was like, those happen back to back. I don't need both of those informations to tell me what you're doing. And then you show me you're doing it. It is wild stuff. Oh, it's great. Talk about some filler.
So now we have Tony's favorite scene by far, which is the men, all our guys hang out in the common room, and then we all tell stories of our backstories, which is how you're going to make this movie 3 hours. When you add all the things, all these things are going to be fleshed out, and you're going to want to kill yourself. Yeah. And basically, Titus talks about how he rebelled, and so they killed all his men. And then he says, "I'll never surrender."
Now, wouldn't that be interesting if he had to deal with something like that again?
Yep.
Sure. You set up a really his is my favorite backstory, I think, and because it's the one that would be easiest to incorporate into this movie.
Oh, sure.
I feel.
Sure.
Which I could have sworn they were going to do. I would have put fucking money on it. Okay?
Every time we went into one of these things, my eyes glazed over and I paid zero attention to what was happening because I knew it meant nothing.
I was enraptured with the screen. I was like, yes, Zack Snyder is going to dole out some of these things. And then as we see the movie unfold, I'm going to cry because these people are overcoming their obstacles. Instead of that, none of this means anything at all. And I'm just mad.
Milius was in a labor camp. There was something with Nemesis. Tarek's dad died, and then he had to watch his dad be dead. Cora.
Tarek's and his mom jumped off a thing. Well, basically, his dad went to the mothership people. I forget all their names.
Imperium, whatever.
Yeah, the Imperium. And he was like, hey, what's up? And then they killed him. And then they came and invaded his planet, and his mom was basically like, again, they don't show this very well, but his mom was like, you need to run, preserve the bloodline, and then she kills herself, which is interesting, but it doesn't matter at all.
He should be like,
who cares if he's a prince?
He should be spreading that Tarek seed everywhere.
Great, yeah. You could get the bloodline out there, buddy. Do something. But what he says, something to the effect of like, it doesn't even matter because the bloodline is dead. And I was like, no, it's not. You are the bloodline.
See, Tarek,
that's the whole point.
That should have been Tarek should have been this fucking uber creep. And he should have been like macking on every girl that exists.
Or he should have just been a really sexy fuckboy because I think he could pull that off.
Or he could be, he'd just be like, come here.
Just slinging the D all over the place. He should go planet to planet, planting his flag, growing some children's. Damn. I'll watch that movie.
So then they get to Cora, and Cora's like, no, Mr. Tall, nothing. I'm just, whatever. Don't know. And then Titus is like, I know exactly who you are. It's in subtext, but I'm going to go like, why don't you tell us your story? She's like, nothing to tell. And he's like, really? And you're just like,
are you sure?
I'm sorry, but if you're the most wanted person in the galaxy, would they put like a poster up somewhere?
Just one wanted poster. You know what I mean? Like a galaxy-wide signal that shows her picture somewhere.
Now, we're going to do a thought experiment because this show's not going to be long enough.
Okay.
Cora then says, I'm the Scar Giver. I'm the one who they say killed the princess. How's anyone at this table going to react?
I don't know. And do you know why we don't know? Because none of them are characters. None of them have any characteristics that tell me how they would react to finding out that she's the most wanted person on the planet. As far as I can tell, they'd all be like, okay, cool. We all got shit in our past, buddy. It's fine. I don't know. So dumb.
They'd probably say, someone would probably say, why did you do that? And then she'd say, I didn't do that. I was framed. And then they'd be like, oh, the Imperium. That makes sense.
Yeah. Classic Imperium, guys. Classic. Let's get them. Also, let's talk for a second, because we didn't really, about Gunnar. When she tells him all those things, Gunnar's just like, that's cool. Should we do it again? Like, he just rolls back over. It's like, I want to bang it. His whole thing is weird, dude.
There's nothing there. And then, someone calls out Titus for not being a booze hound, and Tarek goes and tests. He's like,
Well,
He's no
Cora
longer
does
a
that to
booze
take the
hound.
attention off of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tarek, yeah, that's it. It's a pretty funny line. He's like, "Oh, that is water. Who cares, guys? Who cares?"
Cora goes and flies the ship into the water cave, and the robot is there. His name is James. Did we know his name was James from the first
Well,
movie?
they call him Jimmy. They're Jimmys. So she's doing like a formal version of Jimmy, which is James, I guess.
So we would have had to remember that they call them Jimmys from the first movie, that she's
Well,
doing
if
a
you
bit
watched
calling
the
him
first movie the
James.
night before you watched this one, you'd remember. Okay? Because there's a scene when they first open it up where one of the bad guys is like, "Whoa, they left us a Jimmy. Whoa." So you'd remember, Dan.
And then he's like, "Oh, I'm a robot and I don't know what's happening." And she's all like, "You gotta choose the side."
And then nothing.
The robot was the only thing interesting about the first movie.
Yep.
Once again, here it is. The robot shows up, and I'm like, they're really not going to utilize this robot again.
Nope.
And I'm just going to be
Nope.
like, what the fuck is your fucking problem?
It's so weird to me because they've set up a wonderful narrative for Jimmy. Like, he was the king's guard when the king and the princess, he was protecting the princess. When they died, he lost hope and direction. A fucking robot it lost its whatever it is that tells his programming and is like, I'm feeling lost. I don't know what to do. And he doesn't pick sides. Like, he's just like a lost show me like this humanity arc for the robot. It's beautiful. It'd be a wonderful story.
Now, hold on a second. So he was supposed to be protecting the princess, and the person who killed the princess is standing there next to him?
And we never deal with it. We don't even mention it. How bizarre is that?
Well, it gets stupider.
No, it can't. First of all, it can't get stupider than that. You have a wonderful moment where this robot, who's lost his purpose for life, has the chance to confront the person who took that from him and then overcome it for the greater good. Wow. What a tale that would be. Nope. Nah. We're just going to have him show up randomly and fight and then disappear again. Jesus.
So Noble's plan is he's going to send his Sardaukar down to the one house where the women and children are, which, like, our people should know that that's going to happen, but we never figure out if they know that it's going to happen or if they don't know that it's going to happen.
I'm leaning towards they don't know it's going to happen, which is bizarre because of course it's going to happen. In all honesty, they should be putting the men up there as a decoy to be like, this is where we've had, and then they come attack and then we murder the shit out of them. I don't know, man.
I wrote Cora's haircut. Is that just because she has a great haircut and you love it as much as I love it?
First of all, you do love the short hair, so that's probably why you wrote it. But she cut it because that's how her hair was back in the day when she was in the Imperium. So it's like her war cut.
Looking like a Nazi cut. Got it.
Yeah.
Here come the ships. Big ship comes in. Big ship, beautiful. Little ships come in. Little ships look great. Ship design, just great. Just flawless. They look great. They're integrated perfectly. You're just like, why do you waste such great special effects?
Yeah.
On nothing. They feel real. They feel like they take up space. They have great movement to them.
I mean, let's be honest. They're more real than the characters in the movie.
So Noble comes out and they're gonna parlay, and he comes out and he's like, "I've got a scar from you, and you're the scar giver. Ho ho, there it is." And then he's all like, "All I want is you. You just gotta come. Scar giver's gotta come."
Well, let me ask you something, Dan.
Yeah.
Because him and Cora meet, and he's basically like, "What do you want out of this?" And Cora's like, "Well, I'm gonna give you one chance to leave before we kill you." She doesn't ever just be like, "Oh, hey, I will give you myself if you leave these people alone."
Well, the idea is that I see what you're saying, but he has to be the one that believes that she's worth leaving for. She
but
can't be.
Sure.
Because
Okay,
he's just,
sure.
ostensibly, he's just going to say, I'm just going to take you. What the fuck? I'm going to take the green and you. That's what he
Right.
should say.
That's true.
Her
You're
offer,
100% right.
She should go up there and offer, just take me
that's what
and
I'm
leave
saying.
these people alone.
And then
that
he
makes
should
sense.
be like,
But
why would I need to do that? I'm just going to fucking wipe everyone off the earth and take you with me. Or not earth, sorry, moon. Now, but the reason why I want her to do that is because that is Titus's storyline that you said earlier. Titus gives himself up to save his men, and then the bad guy is like, nope, I'm going to kill him anyhow. How do we not just do that again? How do we not have like a callback and Titus is the one like, don't believe him. It's just weird to me, man.
Oh, no, it's stupid. And it's stupid because this movie, all the character stuff is stupid. Okay, let's see. What happens now?
Well, now is the moment that I was talking about earlier where Gunnar takes things into his own hands, I assume out of love.
Yeah,
because
that's the
now
whole idea is
she's
Gunnar's
agreed to go with.
So he's being selfish.
Right. And I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't think that he would do it.
It would be an interesting character choice if he doesn't do it.
Right?
And if Titus does it instead. And that's the whole thing is someone at some point says, oh, he probably wouldn't have gone for what he was offering. And that's true, but that should be Titus saying that.
Because he has lived through it.
Gunnar should be like, oh, if we could all live and you die, and then we're like holy shit, what a piece of crap.
I'm very sad that that's going to happen, but we have to pick, you have to save the world and not Spock, Dan Goodsell.
That's Dan Goodsell. Dan Goodsell's like, I love you, baby, but sorry. Sorry, Tony.
I love you, baby. See you later.
I'm sorry, Tony, but...
And I get it.
Gonna have to go.
I get it, you know?
And then Titus has to say, he will never... this is an unhonorable man.
And then he picks up the thing and starts swinging, and Cora's like, no, and Gunnar's like, no, and Noble's like, yeah, battle, and then gong, and then we fight.
See, that would have improved this movie just a ton, because then you could play off of that. You could be like, oh, this is who Gunnar is. Gunner's
then we have character choices that matter and define somebody. Oh, wow, what a shock.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Because Titus knows they're full of shit.
Yeah.
And the two of them are making a choice based on love and caring about themselves and about the village and about their people. Blah, blah, blah. They're a bunch of stupid farmer fucks. And then it all begins. There's just a giant fight.
It has begun.
Our guys pop out there, shoot one of the ships. It blows up.
Which I thought was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
And then everybody fights. And at some point, they go to the longhouse, and the women and children are sorted there, and Nemesis there scraping up the ground.
Them.
Her thing she does is she cuts the ground a bunch first, because that's how you start a battle. Cut the ground.
Does it sharpen the swords? I was trying to think of a reason that it might be
because it looks cool.
It does look cool, but there's not like a practical reason for it. It's weird.
So eventually she kills all the people, and she gets killed. This little stupid kid has to come up and stab the final guy so that she can kill him. And I hated that kid. I probably hated that kid the most of all things.
This poor kid. Why?
Stupid kid. Just because it's so self-serving and so like, I'm building stakes into there because she looks at this kid and has to protect this kid. I'm like, that's not how you build stakes. You build stakes by them having a relationship of talking, and that's all in the Seventh Samurai. And in the Magnificent Seven, goddamn Charles Bronson's, the three little kids are like always, they're always like, and he's all like putting up with their bullshit and being cranky, and then when he dies, they're all like super sad, and it's sad. It's sad. You're sad.
Yes, that does make sense, because I was like, this feels really out of nowhere, and you're not building it. They've only interacted one other time in the movie, her and this child. He like came and tickled her nose with wheat, and she grabbed it.
Fuck
That's
you, Tony.
it,
Fuck
man.
You. It made me think about that. I don't even want to think about that.
I'm sorry. But so she's the one that apparently has mommy issues, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a mother's pain. She's the perfect candidate to grow a relationship with this child, and then when she dies, I'm crying.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
How do you not do that?
Oh, well, this is how you do that. You have a shot of the kid, then you have a shot of her looking emotionless, then you have a shot of the kid, then you have a shot of her looking emotionless, then you have a shot of kid. If you do those shots enough times, then you're gonna
Then we're
react.
gonna feel it. Oh my god. Ay, 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 ay.
You know, as opposed to like her, like, you know, her arm gets chopped off and she's just like, I'm gonna keep going. Her other arm gets chopped off and then she puts the sword in her mouth and she's like, I'll kill you, I'll kick you to death. And she's like, I'll kill you.
Yeah, having just a nice struggle fest.
I mean, none of these fights mean anything. None of the fights mean anything ever. You never feel like, oh fuck, they're losing. Our team's losing.
Yeah.
And then, oh, our team's coming back. Here comes our team.
Now, is that choreography? What? I was
It's
trying
everything.
to figure
It's
out
everything.
what it's everything. Yeah.
It's
I was
everything.
just like, is there one weak point here that's making me not care about the hour-long battle you've put in here? Well, you're probably right. It's just probably a mixture of all of it. There's no story to the fight. It's nonsensical. I don't care about anything.
If everything's slow motion, no one can talk.
Well, that's
Never
true.
forget that.
Well, because have you ever heard people talk in slow motion? It's just silly. You don't want to do it.
Okay, so then Noble rages on everyone. Noble has to fight this buff farmer. So our main character we see battling at the beginning is this buff farmer who we've seen before. We don't know his name. And
we learned his name in the first one.
Oh, I'm sure his name was floating around.
I feel like he was supposed to be Korra's husband.
Oh, sure. Bummer. Gunner and Bummer.
Gunner Bummer. But then like she was like, I'm not into it. And then I don't know. I don't remember. I saw it. It didn't really make sense.
So this dude is the one who is constantly fighting him for the whole first of the thing. And you're just like, why are we spending time with this guy?
He wasn't in the movie.
Nope. No,
I don't know.
He should be fighting Tarek or someone that's our fighter. That is our best fighter.
Yeah.
Nope. We have this guy
just
fight
like
him,
dude,
and then he gets thrown out of the thing, and we're like, wow, it's
in
almost
an epic slow motion, as if we were supposed to really care about it. I don't know.
And then, then while all this happening, Gunner is riding Korra up to the ship on the thing. So they've left.
This is the only thing I liked.
And then,
has it not happened yet? All right,
then so when they're having problems, some of the ships leave to go back, including Noble, and Korra is on one of those ships.
And then
she's on her ship, and she fakes them out.
Yeah, they put some sort of gas container.
Yeah, they put it so it looks like they're having.
So it looks
problems.
like they have ship problems, which I thought was like a really cool way to sneak into the ship. I thought that was a neat moment.
Yep.
That's it.
Totally good.
That's all I wanted to say.
Totally good. Noble's on the ship. Everyone down there is let's fight and die. His objectives become ill-defined. Farmers set off a bunch more bombs. The battle rages on. Do they win? I don't know. Wahoo. They do a wahoo, and then more people just march out. This is our second one.
The next wave comes in. Yeah.
And then there's a tank, and so they have to start dealing with tank. Korra's on the ship. She kills everybody in the elevator. Then she's like, Gunner, you go back to the ship, turn it on, and then I'm going to go plant the bombs. So she takes off to shoot bombs. Now Milius finally pops out and does some stuff. And then the bad guys stop caring about the grain at this point. Milius is in the river. Korra plants the charges on this big engine. There's no, Tony, if you were to go to the engine of the Queen Mary or some large ship, do you think anybody works there?
On the Queen Mary?
Sure.
No,
well, not the Queen.
I don't.
Let's say
because that
cruise
ship
ship
decommissioned.
You're on a cruise. You're on
cruise ship.
You're one of those 20,000 person cruise ships, the big engines. Do you think anybody works there?
I would say probably. I've never been to an engine room, but I think you have to have someone, or at least someone that would check on it. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's not like the old days where we're shoveling coal into a fire, but I do think someone would have to man it.
At one point, some guy shows up after she's planted it. They fight, then she falls down over the rail. And what's happening down below?
It looks like they're shoveling
Coal.
stuff into a fire. Am I right? Was I crazy? I just thought that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yep, runs on coal.
Now, who are those people?
Those
Are those also bad guys, or are they like slaves?
they're bad. They've made them bad guys, but they should be slaves.
They should be, and they should help with the uprising, right? Like I thought for sure that's what was going to happen, but it didn't. I got really confused. Now, I have a question. When she puts the charges on it, is it a face? And the eyes like light up, right?
Because it gets
What does
angry.
that mean?
It's angry because it doesn't want to get blown up.
But it doesn't tell anyone. It doesn't say, help me. I don't get it.
Help me! I'm the giant engine. I don't want to get blown up. Hey,
It's Mr. Engine. Someone come down here. Like I don't understand it.
it's me, Mr. Engine. Why doesn't anyone care about me? Pay some attention to me. Help! Chorus down here.
This is weird.
Then they decide they're gonna fire on the thing, and so they have to like slowly the big gun.
He does a hand crank, Dan. He's doing a hand crank.
He does.
What is happening?
It's gotta be
We're
precise.
shoveling coal into a furnace. We're hand cranking a gun. We're flying around the cosmos. What's going on? This isn't like an airship in a steampunk world. Like we are traveling the galaxy, and he's so weird.
It's so incongruous to everything else that's happened. So they're still battling. The third wave is coming. Tarek and Titus are like hiding, and then but he wants to live. He's like, I'm gonna live still, and then there's one last take. Here it comes, and then the robot's like, oh, it's robot time, and the robot goes
for no reason. There's
the
no
robot-
build up to it.
Nope, there's no reason. Nothing has changed. The robot
Nope.
hasn't had anything where he's like, oh,
There's no
okay.
epiphany.
Nope,
He doesn't
nothing.
see someone he can't like. So he loves this blonde girl. I don't know if you remember that from the first one, but that he
Yeah, I
saves
know.
the first time he fights is to save this blonde girl. She should die. She has to die. He
She
has
has
to
to
see
die.
her die,
She has
and then
to
he's
see her
like,
die.
"Oh fuck, I gotta kill these sons of bitches."
She's gotta die.
I don't understand.
Absolutely. Her head
You
just
set
has
it up.
He's up there. He's up there on the ridge, and her head just like,
Just
vaporized.
explodes.
and this body just falls back and goes,
Oh my god.
you know, like everything's twisted. You know, like she's
Oh
got
god.
like I don't know if you've seen have you seen those horrible commercials where the poor people's hands are like this and they can't put them on a
Oh
thing because
god.
there's
No.
terrible things are happening. Oh,
Oh no.
oh, we keep seeing it. It's a terrible commercial. I mean, I want those
means
people to
that
get
they're
help.
targeting you because you're old. Just so you know, that's the
They-
kind of ads you're getting.
The TV, that's all it does is target me because I'm old.
Just tells you how old you are.
So
Yep.
boom, her head just like vaporizes, just like a neck. You know, and it's
Yeah,
like not even squirting blood because it's cauterized by
Because
the
it's
burn.
cauterized. Yeah.
He sees it from up there, and he just launches himself.
All of
It's
his
like,
lights turn red, and then it just
he comes down. He like
just murders everyone.
murders and it should just be like insane.
Yeah,
They should not even.
Yes,
That's slow motion where they don't even. You know, it's like the
Just
goddamn it's
tearing them
Quicksilver.
apart,
He just like he just
and then the good guys have to
re-sculpts-
watch and be scared.
He's just re-sculpting them out of existence. More importantly, he's got to jump in that tank and just like, and then he just takes over the tank and he's just like, just like everyone is dead. And they're
Well,
just
you know,
all-
he's hand cranking.
but his head's like this.
Go robot hands.
How long do you think he was in this part of the movie?
45 seconds to a minute.
It was 90 seconds. I timed
It was 90. Okay, that's good. I thought it felt really short, but a lot of the rest of the movie feels really long, so that might be it. And then he's gone again
Oh yeah.
until the end when we do like the last team up. He's there, but like he's just gone again. I don't
He
get
should
it.
have like launched himself and like shot up to the dreadnought. Whoosh, flew right up there.
Shot right through the engine. Yeah, good stuff. I don't know. It's so weird. It feels like you set that up for 2 movies and then just forgot because it's clearly there. I don't know.
So,
But instead, he just decides to fight for no reason.
so
Continue.
then they're still
For about 4 minutes in the movie, just moving
they're
this
like,
gun.
we have the thing, we have the thing, we have the thing, another thing, another thing. And he goes, is I'm pushing the button. I'm going to push the button. I'm getting ready to push the button. I'm going to push the button.
I'm right above it. I'm hovering. Here we go.
Then the ship explodes.
Which, of course, throws the gun off course. The hand-cranked gun suddenly moves freely.
More importantly, why is the gun on the top of the ship?
That's a great question. It has to be on the bottom because that's where guns go. I don't know.
It's like,
because honestly, how do you even aim down? You have to like tilt the ship just to aim down. Then it's so weird.
You got to be far away enough so that you have like your
angle.
So you have a very shallow angle down. It just doesn't make it. It's like battleships sitting on the ocean, pointing up. If
you're above your opponent, you put the guns on the bottom.
It's so weird. Like, why is that a choice you've made? It's so insane. Now we got the battle on the poop deck.
Is this the poop deck?
Yeah.
What's the poop deck? Is that the bathroom?
No, the poop deck is part of a ship. I don't remember where the poop deck is on the ship.
Oh, all right. You're talking pirate terms. Hey, arr.
There are 2 movies that have already done this before. What are the 2 movies that have done this before?
I don't know. Pirates of the Caribbean. No? What are we talking about?
The ship is crashing, and now we're dealing with an angled pace to battle.
Did the Avengers do it?
No.
It sounds like something the Avengers would do. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. Who do you got?
James Cameron in the last Avatar movie.
I can't remember a single frame of that movie, Dan. I'm just going to
Don't you remember?
Right now.
At one point, the big boat that they're fighting on is all angled like this.
Okay.
And that's a whole thing. But the real movie that did it was Deadpool, when they're at the end of Deadpool, when they're fighting on the helicarrier.
Oh, yeah.
The helicarrier's like this, and at a certain point, we have Jeopardy, right? They start fight up on the helicarrier, and then Jeopardy increases, and we go to this position. We're like, oh, man, it's almost like you're making a fucking movie that makes fucking sense. And at one point, he puts her back in the pod. He puts a girlfriend back in the pod, and then he does a thing where he flips it so that it'll fly free, and she will live, and he doesn't sacrifice himself because he's Deadpool, but he does a thing.
But he'll get hurt.
He has to figure out a way to save the human being that he cares about. Wow, it's almost like a movie.
Almost. Side note, the trailer, I'm very excited about Deadpool and Wolverine.
They battle.
But, I will say, I did enjoy some of this fight where they're sliding down the ship, though.
I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Visually, I was like, this is interesting.
It's too extreme. It's too much.
Sure.
And you're just like, how are they going to get off of here? And I thought there was escape pods, but they weren't. They were just things falling off. And then somehow they fight with Noble, and then Gunner finally cuts him, and then they cut his head off. And then somehow, in the midst of this, they work their way back and board a ship.
Yeah. Now, ostensibly, they have fallen.
Yeah.
I don't know, 1,000 feet?
A long
Like, they
ways.
were falling for a while.
Yet
they could just get right back to the ship. I don't know about that.
Get back to I assume the ship was falling, and then I don't know. Doesn't make
I guess,
any sense.
you're right. Well, I don't know. I don't know, Dan.
Whatever. So they just escape in the ship. This giant ship crashes into the earth. As I remember it in is it the first Avengers movie or the second one? When someone picks up a whole city and then they drop the city, and then they were saying
that's 2, Age of Ultron.
If you dropped the city that way, it would have destroyed the entire Earth.
Yeah, because of the shockwave or whatever, the fallout thing. Yeah.
I can't imagine these people that are a mile or 2 away from this ship, when it crashes in there, that anyone is going to be alive.
It's the Fallout rule, right? So you do the thumbs up. If the ship is bigger than your thumb, you're dead.
Oh, is that what it is?
I mean, not really, but that's in Fallout, the show.
That's
they were
what
like,
they say?
It's the Fallout. If the blast is bigger than your thumb, you're dead. But if it's smaller, you should run because you might be able to survive.
You can't crash this giant ship.
No, there are repercussions to the land.
Gunner is dying. Gunner eventually dies. Who the fuck cares? And then
I wish I cared.
And then the
I
bad
wish
guys.
you know.
The bad guys are in ships, and then the rebel blood axes show up and just kill them all.
Yeah. Now, where did they come from? It's they came from off planet, right?
It's almost like you should have sent them a message, and they should have said, "We can't make it." It's almost like you should have had communication about something. There's going to be a dreadnought here. We could use your help cleaning them up.
They don't have telephones, okay?
It sure seems like they have a big
hand crank guns, Dan. They don't have telephones.
It sure seems like they have an Imperium radio that's sitting in the barn that can contact people over infinite amounts of space.
It's a one-way communication device. Those are set up on hard IPs, static IPs. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know.
So Gunner dies, and it gets to the end, and they know.
Wait! Hold on. Wait, I want to talk about Gunner dying. We're almost done. Because Cora, she's like, "Don't die, don't die," and then she goes, "Why can't I have this one thing?" She makes his death about her.
Hold on a second.
What is happening?
Did she really say?
She
I have one thing?
100% says, "Why can't I have this one thing?" It was the weirdest thing I've heard in this entire movie.
I didn't hear that line because I was so checked out, but that is the greatest line in the entire movie.
It's unbelievable.
Why can't I just have one thing?
Why me? Why me, God? Oh, shush, Connor. Why me? Unbelievable.
But my favorite part is Titus comes out there and they've won and he goes, Shah! And then everyone goes, Shah!
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing. If like you're a real human being, you did something like that, you'd just be like, "Fuck, this fucking."
God damn, man!
You'd be crying because everyone's dead.
Everyone died.
You'd just be like, "What the fuck?" There's no. They act like there's glory in what has occurred here, and that is correct. No glory in what has occurred here.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy, and that's you go watch Seven Samurai and you realize it's a fucking. At the end of that movie, they're not like we're the greatest. They're just like we're fucking not dead. We're gonna be able to walk out of here and live to fight another day, which is not a fucking great thing necessarily.
Not that we really want to do that at this point.
We're pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the big memorial. The Scargiver comes clean.
That memorial's funny to me because the guy's giving a speech and he's like, "We'll honor the dead the only way we can. By harvesting more." And I just thought
he does not say that.
Funny. It's not exactly what he says, but he says, "We'll remember their names on every harvest," as if that fucking matters to anybody.
So she comes clean, and then Titus is like, "Oh, there's one thing you didn't know: the princess is alive."
Now, how does he know that?
Oh, time out, Titus. Titus, hold on. You're drunken in the gutter, and you know that the hope of the universe is alive.
Still alive.
No,
does nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I will not communicate this information to it. Like have like one of the blood axes be like, "This important message just in from Titus," and he opens it. He's like, "The princess is alive."
Great, yeah, something, or
bring us the information.
He's so certain about it. I don't like how certain he is about it. If there was like, "I've heard a rumor, there's a fancy fairy lady who has angel dust is on this planet. It could be her. You never know," or something. But he's just like, "Yeah, she's alive. Yeah, she's totally alive. I don't know where she is, but she's alive. She's super alive."
Well, no, and he makes it sound like he's got concrete evidence that he knows.
That's what I'm saying. He's so sure. He's it's not. There's no doubt in his mind. He's like, "She's definitely alive. I spoke with her last week. We played Parcheesi online. I know she's alive."
So terrible.
It's super weird.
So they're gonna go.
What a fun movie.
They're all gonna go find the princess. That's gonna be the next movie, and Robot's gonna go with them
for no reason because he hasn't gone through anything. It's bizarre. So I was trying to decide which one I liked more.
Yeah.
And I think I liked the first one more.
I think it was because Charlie Hunnam was a character and he was in the movie.
There was it's just this much better. You know what I mean? Like they're both pretty mediocre to bad. So there's just a little bit of character in that first one, and it really pushes it over the edge.
Well, I think Nemesis fights that spider, so that's like a little better. Some of the fights are individual fights, and so they're just a little better because actually something is sort of happening. You can kind of enjoy.
And they look nice. Yeah, but they also don't make a ton of sense. Like, there's no reason. She's fighting this spider because it's a mother that lost her children to pollution, but then she stole the human's child because they're polluting it. And then she's like, I understand you because I'm a mother, but I'm going to kill you anyhow to save the child. And then that doesn't really mean anything to my character or the movie. It's all bizarre. But there are, there's fun stuff to be had in the first one, I feel like. I didn't have a ton of fun in this one.
Not much fun. Okay, Tony. What did you have fun watching this week?
Well, it is, there's two things. It's a great time of year, right? Because it's NBA playoffs. The Timberwolves are playing very well. I don't want to jinx anything. They're playing well. Can I say jinx? Is that bad or is that fine? I think that's fine.
Jinx? Jinx is not.
That's fine, right?
Not racial slur. Is that what you're saying?
Great. But they're up 3-0 right now in their series, their first series against the Suns. One more game in Phoenix on Sunday. So fingers crossed we can get out of the first round of the playoffs, which would be the first time since 2004 that we do it. So that's 20 years since we've gotten out of the first round of the playoffs. So that's exciting. And then this weekend is NFL draft weekend. It's been a good time. I'm having a great time. Vikings got their quarterback of the future, JJ McCarthy. I don't know if I believe in him, but they do, and we'll take that ride.
It's football. It's all lies.
It's football. It's all lies.
Well, I started.
That's what I've been doing.
So
what about you, Dan?
You're a happy boy. So
I'm thrilled. I'm having a great time.
I started the Dead Boy Detective Agency, which is.
Oh boy, we'll talk about that offline. But continue.
Oh, did you start it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, well, it's a Neil Gaiman thing, so I read the comics,
absolutely.
And it's, is it great? No, but it's fine.
Is it fun? It looked fun.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not
okay.
I liked Lockwood and Co. a lot better. It's not
loved that show.
It's not as fun as Lockwood and Co. But they're building an interesting thing, and the Gaiman verse is kind of is all this. It's the Death from Sandman. She's there, and it's like okay, it's interesting.
Okay.
Tony.
Yeah.
We need a movie.
Well, so I had a movie picked, but then you kept bringing up something during the podcast, and I was like, I have been wanting to do that movie.
We're going to do Die Hard?
We are going to do Die Hard, but not the first Die Hard, not the second Die Hard, not the third Die Hard, not the fourth Die Hard. 1, 2, 3. It's the fifth Die Hard, I believe.
Wait, there's only 4.
To Die Hard.
Wait, there's 5 of them?
There are 5. Yeah, so, Die Hard 1, 2, 3. 3's got Samuel L. Jackson. Great movie. Was supposed to be a Lethal Weapon movie, but then they switched it. It's awesome. And then Live Free or Die Hard, which has the nerdy guy in it. Oh,
Jason.
I forgot his name.
Oh, the guy from...
Yeah,
from Barbarian?
Yeah. Why can't I think of his name all of a sudden?
Dweeby guy? I like
Sorry,
him.
everybody.
That's the one with like an airplane, right? Isn't there an airplane in that one?
Yeah. He uses the airplane as a weapon.
Really stupid. Yeah.
And then it gets even better. A Good Day to Die Hard is when Jai Courtney plays his son, which he didn't previously have in the other movies because he had a daughter. But here we go. We're going to do A Good Day to Die Hard 2013. Saw this movie midnight opening night. One of the most angry nights of my life. It's a horrible film, horrible movie.
I don't think I know anything about this. I did not.
That excites me a great deal.
If you said to me there's a 5th one, I'd be like, no, you are wrong.
You are mistaken, sir. I promise you I am not. I'm so glad that you haven't seen this.
Wow, yeah, no, I don't believe I've ever seen even a second of this movie.
You're going to have a good time.
I think I'll watch the trailer to see if I remember the trailer at all. Because I'm having a vague memory that's sort of percolating up that I kind of remember they did make a 5th one.
Oh, yeah, they sure did.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm actually very excited. This is 2013. That's our sweet
2013, spot. Yeah, you're right in that cherry. Yeah.
That is the top point of Hollywood making the worst movies that have ever been made. I don't know that there's a worse time period than 2013 for Hollywood movies.
I don't know. You're probably right about that.
Consistently terrible. Well, cool. If you like what we do, give us a like or subscribe, or leave us a comment. That's very cool. And I guess we'll be back talking about Die Hard 5.
Woo! Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.